us about your Mexican Riviera cruise. Do you always do these, or was it something?
This is I do them. Yeah. Well, I create my own life. I look at the calendar and say, where would I like? I'm in Canada. Where would I like to be in February? I'd like to be somewhere where it's warm. Well, how can I create that for lots of value? And I said, well, you know what? Why don't I bring my sister, who's my assistant, and some other family members on a cruise, and then while we're there, why don't I bring other like-minded people? So I look at the calendar and say, okay, February I'm going to do a cruise. And then I look around, where do I want to be in November? Well, I think I'd like to go to Singapore and Malaysia so in other words, I plan my work around my life, like where I want to travel, what I want to be doing.
Oh my God, yes, I totally get that. I'm on my way of doing that as well. Like I want to go to New York, so I'm trying to create some projects in New York coming up. So I totally get that. Now let's get back to the beginning. How was it that you discovered the law of attraction?
Well, when I was young, are you recording this, or do you want me to? Or?
Yeah, I'm recording it.
Okay, great. Like a lot of people, there was a great understanding between attracting positive things and being positive. And when I grew up, I was quite an introvert. I was hugely overweight, and I was shy and very introverted. So I didn't hang around with a lot of people. I spent a lot of time by myself. And what I did know about was being very sensitive to negative things and negative people. I was just a sensitive kid, so I didn't like negative things. So I've been pretty good at avoiding negative things or watching my words and languages and so on. And I did know the relationship between, when I have a positive thought, I usually get something positive. So I was the guy that everybody went to when they have problems or wanted to be uplifted or wanted the uplifting conversation. Even when I was young, very young, I remember even adults saying, wow, you're pretty wise. Wow, that was a great thing to say. And I remember following people like Leo Buscaglia and those other beautiful love-spreading people, and Alan Cohen and things like that. So I was kind of young, and I was an anomaly. I was young. I remember having to shop for like Wayne Dyer books and a little witch bookstore. Like, when there was no book, you had to go to a Wiccan bookstore, where it was very dark inside, just to get a self-help book. Do you remember those days?
Right.
And now you can buy them at Costco.
Yeah, so, Walmart.
Yeah, so my point being is that when I was younger, because I'm 51, when I was like 19 and 20, it was almost unheard of to be positive or have positive thinking books. It just wasn't the culture. So, yeah, of course, now it's, like I said, you can buy them. Some people found my book at a gas station, in this rural gas station in the middle of Canada, and they took a picture of it. My friend said, your book is in this gas station in the middle of the prairie, so that was pretty interesting.
Wow.
So I've been pretty positive for a long time. I really understood the relationship between positive and attracting positive things. I thought it was positive thinking. Then in 1997, a friend of mine said, do you want to go to Seattle and watch a seminar? And that's all he would tell me. He wouldn't tell me anything. He goes, if you don't like it, you can leave. He goes, I just have a hunch that you're supposed to come with me. So I go to the seminar, and it's an Abraham Hicks seminar.
Wow.
And it was the first time I heard anybody talk about the subject. I read a little bit the description of law of attraction before, like attracts like, never understood what that meant. I heard Brian Tracy had a paragraph in a book, so I heard the name and didn't know what it meant. Except when it came to something positive, I could say, oh, that's law of attraction. But you know what I couldn't understand? Well, why were we attracting negative things? Why would the universe do that? And then when I went to see Abraham Hicks, the big distinction that I got there, among other teachings, was law of attraction is obedient, and it matches positive and negative vibration. That's why it's called the law. We don't have to like it, but that's what the law is. That was so profound for me. On the way home, because I live on an island, so I'm taking a ferry. On the way home, I said to myself, I'm going to research this further. And I was so excited. I didn't like that law of attraction would match negative things, but when I knew that was when I knew that was the rule, and I also figured out, well, law of attraction isn't a person or a thing, or it doesn't have a brain or a soul. It's just energy, right? And it doesn't know whether it's good or bad. Boy, that changed everything. So I came home, I started a discussion group. How many people does it take to have a discussion group? 2. I called my friend Linda Story, and I said, Linda, I want you to come to my house. I want to talk more about law of attraction. And at this time, she's an NLP practitioner, which stands for Neuro-Linguistic Programming. So, and I hadn't been at this time. This was early in my development. So we started to meet at Sunday. She came into my house, and we talk about law of attraction, and then we start to develop processes. Like in my book, I talk about the clarity through contrast worksheet, and I talk about the vibrational bubble and all that stuff. And because she was NLP, Neuro-Linguistic Programming, she was helping me come up with questions and processes. Little sidebar, I went and studied NLP, which is when you noticed about the writing style of my book, it has a lot to do with NLP. In other words, I know how people like to receive information. There's 4 different ways. So I made sure the 4 kinds of readers like my book. If it was all text, there's 2 groups that wouldn't like it. So you notice my book has got cartoons and illustrations and check-off sheets and questions and worksheets and blank worksheets and characters. It's like that satisfies all the learning styles. That's one of the reasons why my book is such a good how-to book, because I teach people how to do that. So that's how I got started. I started teaching it in my home after attending the Abraham Hicks seminar. I learned more about contrast. I learned more about the whole notion that law of attraction is obedient. And then I started to change, just like when people said, "Are you in love?" It's like, well, you know what? I got a pretty good life. And the people would say, "Well, how are you doing that?" And they would start asking me. I said, "Well, it's about law of attraction." "What's that?" I mean, I even had to define that in great detail. And before you know it, I had 2 people coming to my house, and then 4 people. And at the end, I'm having 35 people come into my 1-bedroom apartment and bring in cushions. And all of a sudden, I'm facilitating a program about law of attraction every Sunday. And guess what? When you do anything every Sunday for a long time, you get good at it.
Wow.
And I was so inspired. And then I started to do teleclasses, which are classes held over the phone. I did them once a week, every week for 2 years. And I had a binder thick. They were notes. They were people's thank you cards. And people said, "Oh, I love when you said this, and I love when you said that, and I love this example, and I love this worksheet." Or people would say they were confused about something, and I had a big binder of everybody's feedback. And here's where everything changed. I go see a seminar in Victoria, and I'm still working for the government full-time. I went to see a motivational seminar in Victoria. I left afterwards, and I went up to the speaker because he was staying overnight in Victoria. I said, "Hey, would you like me to tour you around the city?" He said, "Perfect." I said, "Well, I have to go back to work." Imagine that. Back to my government office at noon. And after I met him after work, and I said, "I'd really love to do what you do." And he said, "Well, it'd be really easy if you had a book." I'm thinking, I don't have a book. I'm a government worker that's doing this stuff on the side. And the little voice said, "You have an 8-inch binder at home of the class you've been doing over the teleclass over and over and over again. Guess what? That's a program." So then it took me 2 years to take all of it, and I don't mean I sat at my desk for 2 years. It was a long process. It took me 2 years, and I took my seminar, because you can tell my book looks like a seminar, right? I took my seminar program, and I inserted the worksheets and case studies and examples, and it took me 2 years to make it into a book. And while I was doing that for 2 years, I was holding my law of attraction teleclasses, and I told people, if you want to be notified when my book comes out, let me know. So I would send people to the website. So I'm writing this book for 2 years. I ordered 5,000 books. Very first, nobody bought one yet, but people said they were going to. I was very excited. The printer called and said, we're mailing you your books, or we're shipping your books. You'll get them Thursday. So I sent an email out to everybody that told me over 2 years, and I sold 5,000 books overnight.
Wow.
I woke up to my email, and I turned it on and said, order for 2 books, order for 2 books, order for 200 books, order for 20. I sold everybody that wanted one, bought multiple copies of the book. Then I had their books, right? So I collected all the money online, and by the time the books were delivered, I had collected all the money to pay the printer, and then I just reordered more. And then 4 days later, when people got their books, what do you think happened?
What?
Yes, they ordered more.
Wow.
So now people are saying, what would it cost to order a box of books? Now, there was people in network marketing companies that were thinking, can you give me a discount for 500 books? And I'm thinking, oh my God, I'm in the book business now. So, and all of it was through the use of law of attraction and just aligning myself with the ideal suppliers and ideal fans and ideal support people everything was just happened very smoothly and easily for me.
Wow, thank you so much for that. You're so inspiring to me. I'm like in my vortex right now. Now,
thank you.
Tell us, what are your thoughts on non-physical entities?
Here's my answer to that. I think it's important that everybody finds something that makes it helpful for them to go through their life and their processes the way they do that. And I don't think that we all need to believe everything that everybody else believes to have that feeling. So I have a great understanding and appreciation for what I understand to be universal energy and how it serves me, particularly when I tap into it deliberately. So that's how I like to focus on. For other stuff, I don't have any judgments about it, and I also don't have any education about it. I like to focus on one thing and get really good at it.
Okay. Now, so law of attraction is just the universal law. Anybody, even people that don't necessarily believe in non-physical entities, can get into it, correct?
Oh, yes. I don't think there's any relationship there at all, if you ask me. A non-physical entity isn't law of attraction. Law of attraction isn't a person, place, or thing. It's just energy. It doesn't have a consciousness. It doesn't decide. It doesn't know if it's good or bad for you or whether you want it or don't want it. It's not a thinker. It's a matcher. And it's matching it obediently. And it's not very smart, but it is very obedient. And I think non-physical energies are different. I think they could be what people might call spirits or guides or energies or past lives or our parents or whatever like that. To me, that's what non-physical energies are. Mm-hmm. But they're not deciding our future. We are.
Right.
We're doing that through our thoughts and our words and our actions. Law of attraction isn't doing it to us or for us. It's just matching our vibration. Law of attraction the universe isn't testing us when we feel our life is falling apart. It's just matching our vibration. Law of attraction doesn't know what's better for us. It's just matching our vibration.
Okay.
So a lot of people give a lot of power away to things outside of themselves when there's nothing outside of yourself that's doing it to you or for you. And the best news of all is that we can be deliberate senders of our vibration by deliberately using the right words and the right thoughts. So that's what makes us deliberate attractors, because we're doing something deliberate. That means we're managing our vibration deliberately.
Okay. So, yeah, I mean, that was a little something, because I know some people that I've introduced to the law of attraction that were like, oh, because they read the Abraham Hicks, and they were like, oh, no, I don't like those spirits, that freaks me out. Yeah. So that's why I wanted to get that message out.
Yes. Well, I'll tell you, I deliberately I don't have these words in my book, these three words: God, universe, or spirit. And by doing that, I've made my book mass-friendly, and I taught this, I'll just run down the religions. Salt Lake City to Mormons, New York City in a Jewish church, a Catholic audience, a Protestant audience, atheists, spiritualists, Indians, Muslims. I go to Malaysia every year, and you know what everybody tells me after the seminar?
What?
Wow, this so resonates with us. In other words, they can find their religion in my message, in the message of law of attraction. Mm-hmm. And that's why it becomes very friendly. Mm-hmm. So, yes, I would say it doesn't have anything to do with what people are saying or thinking of non-physical entities. Abraham isn't law of attraction. Abraham's a teacher of it.
Mm-hmm. Right. Yeah, and I kind of discovered that recently too. I was like, wait a minute. This is just a universal law. They just happen to be delivering that message. So anybody can.
They're a teacher of it, like I'm a teacher of it, like Wayne Dyer teaches it, and Joe Vitale. We're just teachers of the message, and we all teach it in different ways. And and I'm filling an audience of people that want to know the practical way. Mm-hmm. Right? Mm-hmm. And not have to know about where it might have come from, or that somebody's channeling. And again, my book is mass friendly. I remember years ago trying to buy an Abraham book. You had to go online and buy it. It was like a secret society. And now they're at Walmart.
Mm-hmm. Right.
So it just shows such an evolution in the subject.